I wanted to be at Texas State. I chose to be at Texas State. I'm from Texas. That was important to me. I always knew if the right guy got this job, you better watch out.
You better watch out. This is Win Now or Get Bent, episode 205. If you don't already know, I'm Kev Tardello, coming to you on Friday, September 12th, and the Bobcats are in the desert. Texas State taking on Arizona State. Late game on Saturday, 9 p.m. kickoff our time here in Texas. That's going to be a late one. I may need a nap, maybe some coffee before that one. 9 p.m. is pretty late for me these days, but I am very much looking forward to it. We all saw that matchup last season, Thursday night in San Marcos on prime time. Bobcats, they had it in the bag. They were up 21-7 at one point. It was toe-to-toe. That was a great game. We'll talk about that one. I always do this. I always step on what I'm going to talk about in the intro. We're going to talk about that game and the game coming up on Saturday. 5 players to watch on each side and what we think is going to happen going into that one. But before we get there, this episode is brought to you by the Galindo Collective, TGC LLC, thegalindocollective.com, a team of professional consultants dedicated to helping others realize their business potential through people, planning, and practice. Their services cover a wide range of areas such as business strategy, marketing, human resources, and financial planning. If you own property or a business and want to maximize its profitability, contact TGC at thegalindocollective.com and follow their social media platforms on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, at TGC_LLC, and on Instagram and Facebook at the Galindo Collective. Shout out to Rick Galindo, a Tech State grad, a true Texas State sicko. 3rd season he's been partnering up with Win Now or Get Bent through the Galindo Collective, and we are also back with our TGC ticket giveaways. The Bobcats will be home next week to play Nichols and September 20th, so look out for that one. We will have that giveaway on the Thursday leading up to it, but until then, hit them up for all your business consulting needs at thegalindocollective.com. That's Galindo, thegalindocollective.com. All right, if you're watching on the YouTube page, Win Now or Get Bent on YouTube, like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. You can see me wearing the maroon Cats by 90 rope hat. I've got it, and it's from bhihats.com. Been having it hats, bhihats.com. Great Texas State looks. In fact, I have another one. Where is it? Boom, right here. The State script hat. I have it right here. The Wizard has one. He wore it on Wizard Wednesday. Shout out to my guy for putting that hat on, wearing it there. He had the logo at the beginning of it, then he flipped it around. My guy's a backwards hat guy, so you gotta respect it. Check him out, bhihats.com. You punch in WNOGB, you get a 10% discount there. I know they are running out of these hats, so they are going quick. Appreciate you sickos getting in there and getting these hats. Again, that's bhihats.com, bhihats.com. And while I'm talking about hats, I got to give a quick shout out to my guy Kent Pope. He gave me this pretty sweet hat here, Texas State FCA hat. They had an awesome event on Friday, a golf event. I got to come out. They let me have some lunch. I didn't play any golf. I'm not any good at golf. If anybody golfs at Win Now or Get Bent, it's the Wizard. We got to get him out there one time. But that was great to see Kent. Hung out with Thad as well. A lot of you know Thad. Ran into my guy Curtis Spillman as well, and we did a hat switch. I gave him one of these BHI hats. He gave me this pretty sweet one here. You know, they're sponsored by BHI, so I got to wear this one on this episode. Hold on, let's see if I can get it over it. There you go. It's a little dual wearing one there for you. But shout out to Texas State FCA. Great stuff they do in the community and for a lot of athletes. I know that was something I was a part of when I was growing up playing football. But all right, let's get to these Bobcats. Enough about hats, you know. Got a big game coming up. The Bobcats have a P4 opponent in Tempe, Arizona on Saturday. Texas State versus Arizona State. I started to lead off with it before the true lead off, talking about that game last year. I imagine everyone who's listening to this remembers that game. What a great game that was. Texas State versus Arizona State in 2024. It was 31-28 loss for Texas State in San Marcos. It was a 21-7 lead for the Bobcats with 5 minutes left in the first half, and it was feeling great. Jordan McLeod was airing it out. He was hitting everybody. I'm pretty sure Chris Don, Bo Sparks, and Jaden Williams all had a touchdown in that first half. Things were feeling great, but then they quickly tied the game before halftime, 21-21 all. That game was incredible. After the first quarter, it was 7-7. After the second quarter, it was 21-21. After the third quarter, it was 28-28. And then Arizona State wins it 31-28 by winning. The only time somebody outscored the other team in a quarter was the final quarter when Arizona State scored 3, and they outscored Texas State 3-0 in the fourth to win that game. It was very toe-to-toe. Even though there was times where Texas State got up by 2 touchdowns, obviously that lead evaporated quickly. Like, that's how close of a game it was, and it was some turnovers late for the Bobcats that did them in the end. But a terrific game, terrific crowd showed out. I feel like the nation really got to see Texas State and got to see them compete, go toe-to-toe with a team that finished. What did they finish? They finished 11-3 last season, and they won the Big 12. And this was a team that the Bobcats were right there with them the whole game. I feel like it was that moment where I was going into the season last year thinking about looking at Jordan McLeod, looking at all these players that are getting back, like Joey Hobart, Ish Mahdi, all the guys on defense, Ben Bell, all these players. I was really starting to believe in this team, and I predicted 10 wins for this team. And after that Arizona State game, even though it was a loss, I was like, I believe that 10 wins even more now. Obviously, some things happened. That Arizona State was one of a handful of close games that Texas State had last year, but I still contend that was a 10-win team last season, even though they finished the season with 8 after a bowl game. But I digress. Yeah, Chris Don, Bo Sparks caught touchdown passes. Jaden Williams caught the other 2 in that game. Great game for Jaden Williams. A little underrated with Joey Hobart and everything in that offense last season, but Jaden Williams was terrific. I mean, he could really peel the top off of defense. Jordan McLeod, 29 for 44, 298 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 interception. It was a pretty costly one late in the game. But before that, he was Superman before handing it off to him. Jordan Tyson, wide receiver for Arizona State, 6 catches, 120 yards, and a touchdown. More on him later because he is back for the Arizona State Sun Devils. It was a solid game in the air for Texas State, but just 132 yards on the ground for Texas State against Arizona State. Obviously, that's much different than what we've seen through the first 2 games this season, where they've been running the ball quite a bit. I mean, last year it was 31 carries total for their offense. 20 of them were to running backs, but only 2 running backs, Ish Mahdi and Lincoln Perry, got carries in that game. Mahdi, 68 yards, Perry, 25. McLeod had another 45, but that was it. I feel like this year we're going to see a lot more running backs. They use more depth in that running back room specifically, than they did last year. They did have Jalen Jenkins and Torrance Burgess, 2 guys that we've seen early on used in the rotation. Both those guys played quite a bit at UTSA, especially Jalen Jenkins towards the end with that touchdown and everything. So I feel like they're going to utilize that a lot more. I mean, in the first 2 games of the season, Texas State is running the ball 65% of the time on offense. So I think that 132, they're gonna want to try to get that higher, closer to 200. I imagine that's in their game plan. But flipping over to this year, 2025, Arizona State, they're 1-1, just lost to Mississippi State 24-20. Tough game for the Sun Devils. Despite losing and facing an opponent that is 2-0, Texas State is 16.5-point underdogs going into this one. So over 2 touchdowns. They are predicted to lose this one. I know they were pretty big underdogs going into that game last year and only losing it by 3. The over-under 59.5 for this game combined score. Some players missing for Texas State. Jolazin Landry, defensive lineman. He didn't play the last game. We didn't receive an update on him. I'm not too optimistic he's going to play. Possibly without Talik Lockett. I know they're trying to work him back into practice. Doesn't seem like this is a long-lasting injury, whatever it is, but he might be held out of this game, although it is a big one. But that one is still to be determined. We did see when Talik doesn't go, some Justin DeLeon, some Lysander Moello, the big guy coming over from Syracuse. So they'll have some options at that guard position. Didn't see Amarian Atwood in the game either. That was another player that I noted. A lot of Will Mitchell at that nickel position. That's a player I didn't ask about was Amarian Atwood, so I'll be looking for him out there, number 23. But yeah, a lot of Will Mitchell at that nickel position. Some cool storylines from this game that I was picking up on. Hamedo Obibo facing his old team and his twin brother, Emeka, who's starting on the offensive line for Texas State. Jamedo, he started for the Bobcats in 2023, only got into 4 games last year, transferred out. He's a redshirt senior. Emeka's also a senior. Maybe they both were too similar on that interior line at that guard position, looking for a place where he could go and really start and shine, maybe somewhere different, a P5 and all that. So still interesting. Twin brothers separated as far as colleges. Who knows if the Sun Devils were they checking out Obibo and he was playing against them last season or what the situation was there. But I did appreciate that they had Emeka. He did their uniform reveal for Texas State. He came out and showed what the colors were going to look like for the Bobcats they were going to wear on Saturday. But on the flip side of that, there's a few players that are playing their old team on Texas State's side. DJ Taylor, he's a new transfer. He most recently played at Cincinnati the last 2 seasons, but he started his career at Arizona State for 3 seasons from 2020 to 2022. We haven't seen much of DJ Taylor yet. I expected to see him in kick return, special teams, things like that. But he is a defensive back when he's not on special teams. Haven't seen a lot of him yet. Still early in the season, though. Ezra Dotson Oyatade, which is funny. I didn't realize this about Ezra. I knew he played at TCU because he got here real late in fall camp for the 2024 season. And he spent 2022 and 2023 at TCU. Started his career at Arizona State in 2021. Kyron Borda, brand new player for Texas State, brand new this year, just transferred in from Arizona State. He spent 2023 and 2024 at Arizona State. Missed the 2023 season with an injury, though. 6'3", 295. We've seen him get in there a little bit. Haven't really called his name a whole bunch statistically, but that is a big player. Kind of the same situation with this next player, same position as well, J.P. Dieter. He spent the 2024 season at Arizona State. He transferred in. Dotson Oyatade and Dieter are both originally from Texas, part of that Take Back Texas trend that the Bobcats like to do. Dieter and Borda are both sophomores, big guys, big defensive linemen. Really enjoy seeing them out there. I haven't seen a whole lot from Borda. Every time I see Dieter out there, though, I'm really impressed with what he's got. I imagine the same for Borda as well. They're both similar sizes. That's 6'3", 280 for Dieter, 6'3", 295 for Borda. So I imagine down the line, we've seen a lot of good stuff from Jordan Sanders, from Cam Washington on that interior D line, Lange as well, Ossie Lange getting in there. So it's been harder for them to break through the rotation. But 2 guys, still keep your eyes on them, those former Arizona State Sun Devils. I imagine they're excited to get back to Tempe and play in this one. Always fun to go against your team. But all right, we'll talk about some 5 players on each side. Do a little prediction for the game. But before we get to any of that, this episode is brought to you by Turnkey Tailgate. TurnkeyTailgate.com, the premier party providers for the I-35 corridor. Bobcat owned and operated by 2 brothers, Steve and Trey Garza. Turnkey Tailgate is the premier party provider for the I-35 corridor, servicing Austin to San Antonio and everything in between. Rent tailgate party trailers, tents, chairs, and other outdoor equipment. They'll even set it up and take it down for you. 8x16 trailer with electric brakes, RV bathroom with air conditioning, hot and cold water, roof mounts, TVs, receivers, tents, coolers, chairs, whatever you need, they got it. Check them out at turnkey-tailgate.com. That's turnkey-tailgate.com. Or call them up at 833-TKT-GATE. That's 833-TKT-GATE or 833-858-4283. And follow them on Instagram and Facebook at Turnkey Tailgate. Shout out to Turnkey Tailgate. Really looking forward to shouting their name out some more this season. I'll tell you this, I'll even sweeten the pot for Turnkey. If anybody goes out there and rent some of their equipment and has a tailgate at a Texas State game, I will show up to that tailgate. Absolutely. I will have to. I will have to support my guys, Steve and Trey Garza. But all right, let's switch over. 5 players to watch for Arizona State. I mentioned him earlier at the top, Jordan Tyson. Jordan Tyson, he's a junior receiver from Allen, Texas. A lot of players from Texas on Arizona State's team. He started his career at Colorado. 18 catches, 209 yards, and 3 touchdowns in 2 games so far this season. 75 for 1,100 yards and 10 touchdowns last year. Definitely a player to watch. I mentioned earlier, 120 yards and a score against the Bobcats last season. This is a guy who will be playing on Sunday, so they are going to have to keep an eye on him. I know coverages have been a little difficult for the Texas State defense early in this season, so that is they're going to have to really have their communication down. That's something we heard a lot from Ryan Nolan, the safety for Texas State team captain, when asking about coverages early on in the season. What's something that they need to focus on? Communication, and him as the safety, as somewhat of the quarterback of this defense, this 4-2-5 defense in Dexter McCoy's defense. He has to be the vocal leader, a team leader, the team captain, everything. They have to be vocal and communicate more. So they're going to have their communication on point for many reasons, but specifically Jordan Tyson. That guy is pretty good, as we saw last season. Sam Levet is my next one. A lot of you know who he is. Some people have him as a Heisman frontrunner, although he did stumble a little bit out the gate this season, the first 2 games, specifically in that Mississippi State loss last game. That's why he's not the first player that I name. I think Jordan Tyson at this point is their best player if you're going to list them off like that. But he's a sophomore. He initially started his career at Michigan State. Another former Michigan State quarterback for the Bobcats, Noah Kim, was one earlier, the Eastern Michigan player. Last season, though, he had 2,800 yards, 26 touchdowns to 6 interceptions, another 443 yards rushing, and 5 touchdowns on the ground. This year, he has 339 yards passing, 3 touchdowns to 3 picks, 98 yards, and 2 touchdowns on the ground for him, 6.5 yards per carry. It's definitely been an issue for this Texas State defense going back a little while, is a rushing quarterback. We even saw Owen McCown get a little loose. He's not really known to be quick-footed, but he was able to pick up some first downs against the Bobcats last week. Levet did it against Texas State last season, really burned them late with some of these runs, so that's something that they're going to have to keep their eye on. Even on Wizard Wednesday, Zachary Webb, our great producer here, host of Wizard Wednesday, he was talking about, will they need to have a spy? What's something different they'll have to do to combat that a little bit, combat these running quarterbacks from getting these chunks of yards on Texas State. So it'll be interesting to see how they counteract that. If whether, and don't know if they fully need a spy, and that's not what Zach was saying either. It just was kind of kicking around the idea, and it got me thinking, well, maybe on 3rd down or something, you have a spy, somebody who's just a little further, 3rd and intermediate to long, I should say. So somebody that's a little further off of the line in case Levet tries to take off and pick up that first down. They have enough time to get back there, but in the same way, they're still back further enough to be in coverage. I think that could work out, but it's going to be pretty hard to combat it altogether. It's going to be, once again, communication. I really appreciated Ryan Nolan bringing that up, communication being key for this defense, because when you watch it, they have great athletes. They, on paper, it looks like a terrific defense, but then you see it go, and it's like, okay, maybe some people are confused about where they need to be. So having that communication, specifically the guys who know where they need to be out there communicating and letting other guys know, I think that's going to be massive for stopping a guy like Levet and stopping a guy like Jordan Tyson, excuse me. I got that flipped around. What a name, by the way. Two great, I wonder if his middle name is Michael in there at all. Xavier Alford, that's my 3rd guy on this list. He's a senior, another player from Texas. He's a safety on defense. His first year he played at Texas for the Longhorns. Second year at USC. The last 2 seasons he's been at Arizona State, 2 seasons including this one. 85 tackles and 2 picks last season for the Sun Devils. 9 tackles in the first 2 games this year. somebody definitely to keep an eye on, an experienced player in their defensive backfield. And I feel Texas State, this defense in general for Arizona State, they're returning 10 of 11 starters. They're pretty sound defensively. That I don't think that was really the issue. It felt like when you look at the Mississippi State game, a lot of that was through the air where they had some issues, you know. And I know going back to Wizard Wednesday, Zach, another great point by him talking about that previous game for Arizona State and playing against Mississippi State. That's an offense that runs that vertical choice, which is exactly what Texas State runs, and they're able to have some leeway on them. So not to say that it's a completely unbeatable defense, a stout defense, but they do still have some good players like Xavier Alford that they need to keep an eye on. So Xavier Alford out there. Another defensive player that I have on my Arizona State players to watch list, Clayton Smith, defensive lineman, another player from Texas. He's from Queen City, Texas. It's been his first season at OU with the Sooners. He's a pass rusher, primarily a pass rusher on that D-line. Team leader in sacks last season with 4.5, 11 tackles and 2 sacks already this season. So definitely somebody to keep an eye on. I think it's really their run defense that is their strength. When I was talking about all the starters they have coming back, and you saw what they did to Texas State last season against the run, that is their strength, but that is still a pass rusher to keep an eye on in Clayton Smith. Number 5, it's a tie. 2 running backs for them, Raleek Brown and Kanye Udo. I think I'm saying that right. I'm pretty sure that's Kanye. Like, you know, it's how old we're all getting. At least I'm getting, where Kanye's. We now have kids being named after Kanye. They're old enough to be in college. But Raleek Brown and Kanye Udo, they both had 100 yards against Mississippi State, over 100 yards each. Raleek Brown is averaging 6.4 a carry, and Udo is averaging 5.0. Now, last season, Arizona State had Cam Scatabo, who's now playing for the New York Giants. Did a decent job against Scatabo, holding him to 62 yards, although there were times where he was able to essentially put the game away at the end in a final drive. Was able to pick up some crucial first downs, even though it wasn't a 150-yard, 3-touchdown performance. He still had a lot to do with that win for Arizona State. And so this run game, it's not all Levette. It's not all Levette running the ball. It's not all Levette passing to Tyson Jordan. So it is. They do use these running backs, and saw that against Mississippi State to some success. So definitely something to keep an eye on for the Bobcats. 5 players to watch for Texas State. These are players, you know, if you're listening, unless you're an Arizona State fan tuning in, these are going to be some new players to you. But if you're tuning in, we all know these names, but we'll go over them for sure. Brad Jackson, quarterback, got to put him at the top. Even though Bo Sparks, terrific stuff, he probably should have some argument to be at the top of this list as well. But Brad Jackson, 500 yards passing, 5 touchdown passes to 1 interception, and another 2 rushing scores for him. The freshman in his first 2 starts, a terrific start for him. I really broke out onto the scene against UTSA. Even though he had the real big 4 touchdown performance the week prior, it was the 4 big passes he had against UTSA. Really going vertical and showing off that arm. 4 big passes that went over 50 yards, including that 65-yard touchdown at the end of the game to Bo Sparks. He arrived. He really arrived, but this is a real deal opponent. This is a P4 opponent on the road, a serious team, a lot of experienced defensive players, as I just went over, a team that's hungry and mad after losing to Mississippi State. So the young man's really going to have to show it. Number 2 is Bo Sparks, of course. 12 catches, 237 yards, 5 touchdowns for Bo Sparks, 19.8 yards per catch from the young man from Utah Tech who came in last season. I'm really, there's not much more we can say about Bo Sparks. We've talked about him a whole lot. He has emerged as the wide receiver 1 on this team. He's a terrific route runner. He's fast. He's a smart kid, and he's got incredible chemistry with Brad Jackson. So, I mean, they're going to have to really, really get on top of him in this game. Number 3, I have Lincoln Perry, 238 yards on the season, 2 touchdowns, 7.2 yards per carry for Lincoln Perry. It's a stable of running backs for Texas State that they have been using. We saw it was Perry and Greg Burrell and Jalen Jenkins a lot in the first game. And then this most recent game, it was Perry, it was Jalen Jenkins, but then we saw a lot more Torrance Burgess. In fact, Burgess was off the bench first before Jalen Jenkins, the second back to go out there. So they are using those 4 quite a bit. We still haven't seen Tajee Atkins, the Rice transfer. We know he can play pretty well himself. And Cole Pryor is a true freshman. They have a lot of running backs that they're going to use, but Lincoln Perry leads that room for a reason. Team captain, 4th year with the Bobcats, led the team in rushing in 2022. Just his story is incredible. It's going to be a big one. They're going to need him. They're going to need a big one from this guy. Another offensive player for me on the list, Chris Don Jr. That's who I have number 4 here. No touchdowns yet for my guy, but 7 catches, 159 yards for Chris Don Jr. It's bound to happen. Maybe it's this one. We saw him get a touchdown catch against Arizona State last season. Maybe it's in the cards for him in this one. But shout out to Chris Don, a junior. I talk about Bo Sparks being wide receiver 1, but Chris Don, I feel like his ability, everything he's got, he's right there with him. I'm waiting for him to have a real big splash game. He had a great one against UTSA, over 100 yards on 2 catches. I mean, can't beat that. Khalil Alexander, it's my lone defender on Texas State's top 5 to watch. I'll talk about some other defenders just to balance it out. But Khalil Alexander, 5 tackles, 1.5 TFLs against UTSA last week. A much better game than Eastern Michigan. He got some pressure against Eastern Michigan, but he seemed relatively absent in that win for the Bobcats. Not against UTSA. Even G.J. Kinney noting how Khalil Alexander was double-teamed, sometimes even triple-teamed at that game against UTSA. So even though he didn't get a sack, he was still able to get a tackle for a loss, get some of these tackles. He had that hard hit on Owen McCowan, like the second play of the game, knocked his helmet off, really set the tone for the rest of the game. So he's on my list, back on my list of players to watch for Texas State. Number 2 out there. They're going to need that pass rusher. They're going to need some guys to get back there. I know last season, I wish I made a note of what they had. I feel like I remember it was like 3 sacks, 7 TFLs. That pressure was really great. They were able to get back there and put some apply some extra men on Levet, and it really made him rush some decisions, rush into runs that didn't materialize. Sometimes it did, but there are other times where it didn't. I think that's going to be key specifically for this defensive line. We've only seen 1 sack from a defensive lineman so far, 3 sacks total, 1 from a linebacker, 1 from a corner, 1 from Kennard Snyder last week. So they need to get home and get some of these sacks, because that's where this defense thrives quite a bit. We know that. We've talked about it a lot. Of bend, don't break defense. It gets the pressure, which helps in coverage. It goes together. And so they've got to get out there and get after that quarterback. I mean, it seems like whenever they're successful, it's when this defense gets over 5, over 6 TFLs and a handful of sacks. More than 1, like 3 to 5 sacks. They have 3 through the first 2 games. I think they need to match that, maybe even go beyond that in this game, and Khalil Alexander is going to be a big part of that. Only 1 defender listed on my 5 players. I should, there's some other guys. Ryan Nolan, safety, I mentioned him earlier, team captain. It was great. They gave him some media availability this week. It's great to hear from him. We learned about Florida Fast music. I don't know much about it. I'll have to tune it in sometime. Traylon Payne, linebacker. He's leading the team in tackles. He's doing a great job out there. Kennard Snyder got his sack last week. Jordan Sanders playing real big on the inside. He's the Cal Poly transfer wearing number 88. So there's some defensive guys that are playing well. The defense, all in all, really needs to step it up. They had a better game against UTSA, I feel, than Eastern Michigan, especially when you see how bad Eastern Michigan is. They lost to LIU this past week. So, but no fumbles or interceptions on defense through 2 games. That's got to change. Obviously, it's got to change if they want this defense to be successful. Have to get turnovers, especially against Arizona State. We saw that was what did Texas State in, was the turnovers from their offense, a fumble, an interception. I feel like both of those were in the 4th quarter. They at least were both in the second half, and that really did the Bobcats in late in that game. They're going to have to, if they're going to want to take this one and upset Arizona State, they're going to have to get one on defense. They're going to have to steal one and get it back into the hands of Brad Jackson. Not trying to bag on the defense too much. Here's a very good defensive stat. The opposing teams against the Bobcats through 2 games, 3 for 8 on 4th down, 9 for 27 on 3rd down. That's 33% on 3rd down, which is terrific. 37.5% on 4th down. So that's much better. That is one that has been improved. Although they haven't gotten to the quarterback as much, they are stopping 3rd down a little bit more. So that is good. It's a give and take. And 2-0. Can't sit here and bag on the defense too much, but there is room for improvement in some areas. Let's get to a prediction before we send you off, let you prepare for the game. 9 p.m. kickoff for us here in Texas. I already have FOMO not being there. I was looking up tickets, really not that expensive. And where the Sun Devils play, it's real close to the airport. I was like, I could just fly in, go in there and crash at some cheap motel and fly out early on Sunday morning. But, I decided to think better of it. I've got some old friends in town too as well. Family friends of my parents, the Buckholts. Shout out to the Buckholts. I haven't seen them in a long time. So it's gonna be great. Dave, Gail, Nick, Abby, Buckholz. Shout out to y'all. Excited to hang out with you. Couldn't miss seeing them. For a football game. We'll send you off with a prediction. My prediction here, I am just fresh off of listening to Wizard Wednesday. I am just brimming off of this UTSA win. I just have way, way too much optimism. I am way too excited for this season, but I have the Bobcats getting an upset. When the Wizard and we did our grand season prediction, I had them at 9-3, and I had this as one of their 3 losses. I had it as their first of 3 losses. I had this one. I had Marshall, which that one's not looking great, and I had Louisiana, which also seems like a winnable game. So I am switching from that original prediction. And I feel like Texas State's going to win. I feel like I had it as a pretty resounding loss at the time for Texas State. When I did that prediction, I did it in fall camp when there's a lot of unknown about Brad Jackson, about what this offense is going to look like under Landon Keppel. I have been eased of those answers. I feel like the defense still has a lot to be desired in the pass rush, as I've gone over ad nauseum. But I still believe in this offense enough, and I believe in this defense enough because I believe the issues that they had that I'm talking about through the first 2 games, I really do think they were communication. And it was nice to hear the team captain, essentially the leader of that defense at that safety position with Ryan Nolan, and say that it was communication and how it was up to him to make sure everybody was in the right spot, specifically in the defensive backfield, the corners, the nickel, safeties, making sure everybody is in the right spot where they need to be. I feel, because when you'd watch it, you'd be like, man, they have players, that guy's talented enough, that guy's fast enough. Why is he getting beat? Why is he not getting back to the quarterback? And I think it all boils down to that communication. And it does first 2 games, growing pains with so many new players on defense, new leaders, even guys who are returning are new leaders in Nolan, in Khalil Alexander. They had been part of a bigger group, and now they are the leaders of that defense, of the defense. So it's those growing pains. It's going to take some time through the first 2 games. I feel like they're going to start solidifying it this game against Arizona State. Really liked hearing what I heard from Nolan. That made me believe quite a bit about their communication and them able to fix the issues they had the first 2 games, because they're really going to have to buckle down for this one. I believe the offense, they can hang with it, even though this defense is returning 11 of 10 starters. They have a lot of experience. It's essentially the same defense that Jordan McLeod and the Bobcats were able to get a lot of leeway in with this vert choice offense. So that also makes me pretty confident. It also makes me confident when you have players like Bo Sparks and Chris Don. They're both returning. They were able to score on Arizona State last season. They have a taste of Sun Devil blood on their lips, if you will, so they know what it takes to go in there and do it. And we've seen Brad Jackson. He went into San Antonio. That was an environment where it was definitely more Roadrunners than Bobcats. Plenty of Bobcats. A lot of great pop. Anytime Texas State would score, you'd hear it from the crowd. But that was still a crowd that wasn't on his side, and it was a big crowd, 45,000 people. And he didn't shake. He was cool hand Brad out there. He wasn't worried about that crowd. He was just worried about winning the game, throwing that ball deep, and getting it whenever he could. So I feel like this environment going to Tempe, it's not going to bother him. It's not going to shake him. We've seen his confidence. He seems pretty inflappable. He's even out there. He's real loose, having a good time. We saw him. Some of you watched the cinematic recap. Go check that out if you haven't from the UTSA game. You can see him kind of goofing around while handing the ball to the ref after a touchdown and everything. He just feels real loose, and that's a sign of a lot of confidence. And I feel like Arizona State doesn't have a lot of confidence at this point. I feel like they went into the season. Levet was Heisman contender. Arizona State was, I think, number 11 before the season even started. There was a lot of expectations after they won the Big 12 last year, after they surprised everybody last season, and then were able to bring a lot of players back. But I feel like with that expectation comes a lot of pressure. I mean, you even heard it from Kenny Dillingham giving a press conference talking about, like, hey, don't be surprised if we're 5-7 and things like that. That's not indicative of a confident program. I feel like this team is a little bit on the ropes. I think they're good enough. Arizona State is who I'm talking about. I feel like they're good enough to, throughout the season, maybe figure it out. I think at this time, though, right now, they might be looking at Texas State. It's like, oh yeah, that was that little team that almost beat us last year. Let's squish them like the bug they are. Put them on the bottom of our shoe. But this is a different team. This is really, when you look at the players, you look at the quarterback, how young he is and everything. I don't think about that. I think about this coaching staff and how it's their third year at this school, in this system, and building what they're building. And I think it's accumulating to this. We've seen this staff beat a P4 team before in Baylor back in 2023. I think it's going to happen again on Saturday. I have my score prediction, 37-33. You can do the math and figure out if that's over under. What was it, 59.5? I think that's over. I think I've got an over on that one, but I've got the Bobcats with the upset, 37-33. And I say it every time, we're predicting the unpredictable whenever we throw these out. So don't get mad if your parlay doesn't hit, or if you try to bet on that one. I was thinking about predictions as well. Here's what I like more than a score prediction, or what's going to happen in the game prediction. Mainly good things for Texas State. This is probably me just manifesting some predictions. So just oblige me here for a sec. Chris Don Jr. touchdown. That's what I'm predicting. I'm predicting it this game. I think he saw him get really close. He was one cutback where he slipped away from a touchdown on one of those big catches. Man, I'm sure there was something off with the turf on that one. I heard some people talk about how slippery it was. But I think he's going to get there. I think he's going to get a touchdown. Saw him score against Arizona State last year. I think he's going to do it again this year. I also think it's going to be because there's a lot of attention on Bo Sparks, a lot of attention. And I think that attention can be a good thing, where everyone's worried about Bo Sparks. It leaves guys like Chris Don open. And I think the same thing with Khalil Alexander. Sorry to switch over to defense real quick, but Khalil Alexander, when GJ was talking about he's getting double, triple teamed, that's fantastic, because that's going to clear up the other side for a Kennard Snyder to get a sack. Tymir Jackson, who's going to play, he left at halftime of that game last week. He should be back, according to Coach Kinney. So it's fine whenever your players are getting double teamed, when they're getting extra attention. It's going to leave somebody else open. I think that's going to be Chris Don, and I think that's also going to be Kylan Evans. I'm calling a touchdown for both of them. A touchdown for both. A lot of attention on Bo. Kylan Evans, there were some plays where he was pretty open. The Wizard was cutting me some tape where that was one thing he was saying, which I have to agree with. I can't remember if he specifically said it on Wizard Wednesday. I think he just said it to me in private, where Brad Jackson does rush some decisions sometimes, where there was a play he was showing me where Brad Jackson checked down, but if you looked up across the middle of the field, there was a wide open Kylan Evans, probably for another big 50-plus yard catch, maybe even a touchdown in that game. So there were some of those, some of the stuff on the QB read where he should have handed it off. Instead, he decided to keep it, called his own number. So there's some things where Brad Jackson does need to settle a little bit, but a lot of that stuff is at the beginning of the UTSA game. By the end of it, you started to see him settle. So maybe in that settling, he'll start to expand who he passes the ball to, hitting some more of these wide receivers like Kylan Evans, getting him a touchdown. Calling that one as a prediction. And Lincoln Perry, I have a touchdown catch. Not a running touchdown. I have a touchdown catch out of the backfield. I like that. It's a little wrinkle they've added this year. He's always been able to do that, but it seems like they've been doing a little more. Him coming out of the backfield and getting getting a catch. I think he's going to get one of those and get into the end zone. So I have 37-33 and 3 of those touchdowns. That's how I think they're going to shake out. I also think in this win that I have envisioning for Texas State, that I'm manifesting for the Bobcats, 2 turnovers for the defense, the first 2 turnovers for the defense. I think it's going to be 1 fumble, 1 pick. Get in there, punch that ball away from Levet when he's running around. Try and pick it off. Do what you can on defense, because that's definitely what it's going to take. They're salty on the other end, and they will get those turnovers like they did last season. But I'm too optimistic. I very well could be, but I'm feeling it. I'm feeling the Bobcats right now. I'm feeling Brad Jackson. I'm feeling G.J. Kinney. I just think everything that they have going has been great. And I was thinking about it. I forgot to even add this note. Why I'm thinking this win for Texas State is last season it was the same scenario, but it was all at home. They played UTSA at home. They beat them. It was a raucous beatdown, 49-10. Everybody celebrated a little bit, and then you looked up, and it was 5 days after that game, Arizona State, on that Thursday. So same situation. They beat UTSA, an emotional win. Now they have a little extra time to get over the celebration. It won't be after 5 days. They have an extra 2 days going into this. Granted, instead of staying at home, they are traveling to the West Coast. So there is that. So maybe that point is a wash, and that's why I didn't bring it up. But I still feel like it's worth remembering that Texas State, after they beat UTSA, it was a 5-day turnaround, and then they played Arizona State. So, that's it. That's what I have. That's my prediction. I have Bobcats going to Tempe, getting the dub, big dub for the Bobcats. This has been a great episode. It has been sponsored by Austin Patchmaster, austin.patchmaster.com. Drywall, sheetrock, plaster repair, cracked walls, cracked ceilings, paint jobs, dinks, dents, popcorn ceiling removal. Did you punch a hole in your wall after that UTSA loss in 2023 and still haven't gotten it fixed? Well, no worries. Whether you're moving in, moving out, or just looking to upgrade, Austin Patchmaster has you covered. Fill that hole in your life with Austin Patchmaster, owned and operated by a Tech State grad and a true Tech State sicko, Michael Clements, my guy, Michael Clements. Austin Patchmaster is one of our first sponsors, and they are back for the 2025 season. Check them out at austin.patchmaster.com and call them at 512-200-3888. That's 512-200-3888. austin.patchmaster.com. Shout out to Michael Clements at Austin Patchmaster. Shout out to all our sponsors. Make sure you go check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/winnowergetbent. WNOGB.com, still under construction. But man, I was talking about it on the last episode. I saw that sicko Caleb Ward at the UTSA game wearing one of these, the Mad Cat shirt, wearing the Cats by 90 hat, and it got me fired up. So we are going to have some great merch options coming up this season. Until then, bhihats.com, WNOGB with the promo code. Let them know you heard about them from us. Check us out on YouTube if you're not watching, or on YouTube, Win Now or Get Bent. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Great numbers on our YouTube channel. Really appreciate everyone. We're cooking with gas now. I mean, we are well over 1,000. A lot of views coming in every time we post a video. It's been fantastic. Make sure you get on there. Check out the cinematic recap from Zachary Webb. It's awesome. I narrate it, but really all the work that goes into it, it's the wizard, Zachary Webb, editing it, shooting it, doing lots of great stuff. We won't have one for the Arizona State game, but we will have one for Nichols. We have some for the first 2 games from this season, so go check those out. My guy Zach works so very hard on those, and they come out so great. One of the things I'm the most proud of that we've done over the last 3 years at this little media company we have, Win Now or Get Bent. Check out our Twitter page at Win Now or Get Bent. Check out our Instagram at WNOGB. We need more followers on Instagram. Help me out there. Check us out on TikTok as well at WNOGB. At WNOGB on Instagram and TikTok. If you're on those, get on there and follow us. I've really figured out TikTok pretty well too. I think it kind of speaks to me, getting some good feedback and followers on there. Instagram, I don't really understand. Really trying to, these new social media platforms. Got to get on Facebook. We'll get on there too. That's the next one. It's the next one. A lot of you have told me to get on there and post. I know there's quite a few people there. To you audio heads on Apple and Spotify, thank you very much. You are the OGs of this pod. That's how we started out, audio only, the first 2 years. That's how I love to consume pods. But if you're on there, make sure you leave a rating. Stay subscribed so it downloads right away onto your phone. All that good stuff on Apple and Spotify. Or wherever you get I don't know the other options. I know some people get them off Google, things like that, but I'm not exactly sure. Big shout out to TGC, LLC, BHIHats.com. Check it out, Cats by 90. A big shout out to Turnkey, Tailgate, and of course to Austin Patchmaster for sponsoring this episode. Thank you to Zachary Webb for producing this episode and for producing and hosting Wizard Wednesday and the cinematic recaps. My guy's working hard this 2025 season. Can't thank Zach Webb enough. And of course, I can't leave without thanking you sickos. Without you, we would be shouting into the void. And because of you, we're not. We're growing. We're doing great things. I'm over here getting on TikTok because this thing it's growing. So we got to do cross-platform promotions and all this stuff. It's so much fun. I can't thank you enough for helping to continue this little dream that we've got doing this podcast and this channel, this everything that we're going to bring. We're going to keep it going. We're going to keep growing with these Bobcats because boy, are they growing. We got to keep up with them. It's a lot to keep up with, so we got to keep stepping up our game. So we're gonna keep doing that here at Win Now or Get Bent, bringing you the good stuff. But all right, everybody, big game Saturday. Can't wait for it. Till next time, win now or get bent.